Good evening, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the evening of Sunday, the 12th of July. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at CTM The Bigger Picture.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right, great. Well, we've had certainly a very interesting weekend from an Iran war point of view. Hostilities are ongoing, seem to be getting worse. There is some news that the US may have attacked, bombed one of the main Iranian oil fields tonight, which could make next week very interesting if that turns out to be true. But at the moment, the effect is muted. We've only got 26. We're only 26 down on ES futures at the open, so we will see how that goes. Looking at NQs, we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed. This, gotta say, this is the patient. Recently, I mean, we've got this has just been very, very weak, and actually, ES the weekly pivot went up, and NQ it went down. Nonetheless, it has been making some progress. Am I seeing this as a flag? Not really. I don't think it's the right size for that, but I am seeing this as a falling wedge. Next obvious target is up here. News permitting, I'm thinking we may well see that tomorrow. RTY. Have we got a possible head and shoulders forming here? Yes, we do. Obviously, that's got potential if the war goes really badly next week, but we'll see. Possible topping action here, but nothing particularly clear. 60-minute buy signal has reached the possible near miss target on YM. DAX, we have fallen sharply from the retest of the high, which has now been sorted out, so we don't have that as unfinished business above. Possible topping action, head and shoulders forming on ESTX. And N225, we've got a little inverted head and shoulders here, which is broken up with a target in the 71,900 area. If that makes that target, then I'd be inclined to read this as a flag, setting up a retest of this high, and we also have unfinished business at a retest of the all-time high on ES and NQ, although obviously the Qs have been really struggling lately. All right, let's have a look at that on the bigger picture chart, and let's have a look at SPX first. Okay, SPX, we came back, we tested the daily middle band, we held it, and we're getting pretty close to a retest of the all-time high. Ideally, we've got two bullish leaning days on Monday and Tuesday this week, and ideally we would reach them then. Having said that, in terms of the war news, it's rubbish. It's really not good. So that doesn't seem to be having a big impact so far, but it might do. In terms of, we had quite a lot of negative divergence at the close on Friday. We've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing here on SPX. On the hourly chart, 15-minute, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal brewing as well. In terms of the we've got both brewing. Those ones have got RSI 5 hourly sell signal brewing on SPX. In terms of the Qs, we are struggling. We managed to close back over the daily middle band, but we've spent most of the last 2 weeks trading below it. So are we making tracks to the upside? Yes. Is this a potential double bottom? No, it's too big. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing. So I'm just going to mark that up while I'm looking at it. All right, and looking at the keys, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed on 15-minute. Does this all look like a bullish consolidation? Yes, it does. In terms of Dire, we've got a nice looking rising wedge here, and I was wondering whether we'd reach the wedge support, which we're not showing the immediate sign of doing, but really, I am wondering whether that might get a hit. We shall see. In terms of IWM, on the daily charts, we are breaking slightly the support trend line here, and we're testing the daily middle band here, but we closed above it on Friday, I think. No, marginally below it, but essentially on it. So I'm wondering whether we might continue to the downside. I am also wondering whether head and shoulders might be forming here. We shall see. No divergence on the hourly chart. Nothing really worth the mention here on the 15-minute chart either, but I am wondering about a possible head and shoulders forming, and we've already reached the ideal right shoulder high area for that. In terms of DAX, we managed to close back over the daily middle band, albeit barely, on Friday. So we've had a test of the 50 DMA, and that's holding so far. Nikkei, we've actually got a really nice hit of this nice, very high quality rising megaphone here. And it's possible, of course, we may be returning to megaphone resistance, or at least into a retest of this high. We shall see. And there's a decent flag setup suggesting that might be the case. Okay, let's have a look at the currencies. All right, let's have a look at DX. Okay, DX, does this still look like a bull flag? Yes, absolutely it does. And we're seeing a bit of a boost tonight because, of course, the war news is bad. And when that happens, we tend to see bonds go down, dollar go up, and oil go up. So that's what we're seeing tonight. So hasn't managed to break over the flag resistance yet, but I think it may well. This looks like the flag breaking down on USD, still forming maybe on GBP. We're getting a bit of a boost, I think, from the new Prime Minister. USD JPY, this looks like a bullish consolidation, possible triangle forming at the moment. USD CAD kind of looks like a bull flag forming. Australian dollar kind of looks like a bear flag forming. NZUSD, possible bear flag forming. So really, the currency pairs are suggesting that we're going to be seeing a move up on the dollar C, which I think we are likely to see. All right, especially if everything goes till next week, which I'm thinking the war is not going well. All right, in terms of USD JPY, obviously we've got this huge bull flag here, which I'm wondering might possibly deliver a retest this high here at 114.79, and we've got matching big bear flags on the monthly charts on USD and on GBP USD. Short term, we haven't got an awful lot of divergence to work with. In terms of the USD on the dollar chart, we don't have anything at the moment. We do have an interesting looking rising support trend line here, suggesting that we might be starting another leg up. In terms of USD, no current divergence. I'm wondering if this is a bull flag, but if the dollar's going to go up, then it isn't. We've already got an asymmetric double top, which has broken down. In terms of GBP USD, not a lot to see. Do we have a sell signal there? Actually, we do. We've got a daily RSI 5 sell signal, which is fixed there. Sorry, I'm just going to mark that in. Sorry, I missed that when I was going through the charts earlier this weekend, where I was going through something like 100 charts. So that is an RSI 5 sell signal, which is fixed. All right, so that's looking a little bearish on the on GBP USD. So we will see how that develops. Bigger picture, that is, we've got a nice looking rising wedge on GBP USD. We are testing support on that. And breaking it slightly. If we break down below it, we've also got a nice looking double top formed here, and a sustained break below 130 would start to break us down from that. All right, in terms of USD JPY, I was looking for the retest of 162. We've seen it. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence. This looks like a bull flag of some kind forming. In terms of USD CAD, I'm wondering about a retest into a return to this big resistance area in the 1.48 area. We will see. This actually is something I quite often see at a top. So it may be that we'll get up to there and come back down, but it all depends on what happens on the US dollar. If the dollar has a big enough move, then the USD CAD should go up with it. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence. We've got a nice looking double bottom, which is broken up with the target at a retest of the February high at 1.4793. In terms of Australian dollar, I'm really just looking at a possible double top here, and we're getting pretty close to double top support. NZUSD, nothing obvious happening here, so we shall see. All right, let's have a look at bonds. All right, looking at ZB, the buy signal has reached possible near miss target. We did actually get a sell signal on ZN, which fixed on Friday, and that has actually now made target. Bigger picture, we had a rally. It was muted. We're back at the lows on ZN. We're back at the lows on ZB. These could be double bottoms, but my suspicion is it's going to be continuing down. All right, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. And looking at TYX, I was speculating that this head and shoulders that had broken down was going to fail, and it's failed. That would give us a target back up at 51.97, suggesting strongly that bonds are going down here. In terms of TNX, nothing is definite there. We've still got this nice looking triangle. We've seen a bit of a break up there, and I'm thinking we should follow through to the upside soon. In terms of the daily chart, not a lot to see really. TNX looks like it's heading back up into a retest of this high. In terms of TLT, we've got a double top here which is broken down, and that's most definitely not been invalidated. I'm thinking we may continue, we may just reverse back down to the target in the 81.2 area. And here we had the other head and shoulders here. This was an inverted head and shoulders, and that has failed too, with a target at a retest this low here at 82.143. Overall, leaning bearish on bonds. All right, let's have a look at oil. Now, oil obviously is looking pretty interesting here. Now let's just have a couple of look at charts. Now I tend to run these on multiple time frame charts. So let's have a look at where we were on Friday. And I just want to spend a bit of time on oil here because I think we've got a nice looking setup forming, and it might develop into a very nice trade. So let's just have a quick look at the short term. Now, in the short term, I was talking in the pre-market video on Friday about the possibility we'd go up on Friday and then come down this week. As it is, we went down on Friday. And we left the day with a pretty nice looking bottoming setup, and that bottoming setup was a very nice looking little double bottom here. So let's work that out, because that double bottom is now broken up. So let's give us the targets there. So I like doing this in front of you sometimes, so you can see how I do it. Pretty simple most of the time. So that is one arrow. We've got the two bottoms are obviously distinct and not quite the same level, so that's why we get two targets. All right, this is broken up with a double bottom with a target in the 75.1 to 75.5 area. Really, I'd be leaning towards seeing a retest this high here at 76.062 and a likely breakout from there. We are seeing a bit of short-term negative divergence. We do have a possible short-term double top. Looking at Brent, we had a very similar setup here. And I'll just draw that in as well. So really, I was thinking by the time we closed on Friday, the setup was suggesting that we were going to see a gap up, and we have seen that gap up. So I've got an idea of how this would look on the bigger picture, but I'll come to that once I've finished drawing this in and showing you the short-term targets. All right, let's have a look. All right. Okay, here we've got two double bottoms which are very, very close together. That means we only need one arrow. And this double bottom has broken up with a target in about the 79.75 area. I'm thinking, and I'll explain why, this will go back to 80.526, and it's got a decent chance of breaking above. Again, we've got a bit of negative divergence here and possible short-term topping action. But I have to say, with all the bombing going on here, I'm feeling pretty bullish about oil. Okay, in terms of let's have a look at the futures charts first. Obviously, we had these 60-minute sell signals. They all reached the possible near miss target, and they haven't returned to the 70 level, but they're getting pretty close, at which point I just sign it off, and we no longer have a signal. So this is, at the moment, looking like it's returning to here, and I'm thinking we may be forming an ABC flag, and I'll explain how that works on the RTH charts. Again, I'm thinking could be an ABC, and we'll be starting the C here. 60-minute sell signal reached possible near miss target. I'm likely signing that off, cancelling that tomorrow morning, going back to no current divergence. HO, wondering about a retest of that high too. RBOB, wondering about a retest of that high too. NG, we had a big fail here. We had a target at a retest of this May low, and we've made that target now. We have got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. It looks as though we're likely to see a bit of a rally. All right, let's have a look at the at the setup on oil. Now, this is managed straight and forward moves, traffic returns. I thought the floor was 5% actually, but it's actually managed to get all the way down to 4%. And I found a couple of pretty cool places to have a look at the interim prices at the weekend on Hyperliquid, which I'm going to be looking at again, and looking at when the markets close at the weekend. To see how the news is being received. But the interesting thing I wanted to look at here is on the daily chart. Okay, on the daily chart, we've still got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed here, a weak one on Brent on the daily chart, and we've got one on WTI as well. Where has the rally got to so far? It's got to the daily middle band, and it's just gapped above the daily middle band. If that can be converted into support, then that's what we need for the ABC, and that can give us the C wave up, ideally into about the 84, 85 area. Looking at the WTI chart, on the daily chart again, the first wave up stalled at the daily middle band, not a bad area, and the 50 DMA, and we are seeing a bit of a gap above that too. If that follows through, again, this opens higher targets. I'm thinking maybe 82, 83 here, and that can give us a good option of a bear flag. Now, there's a couple of ways this can go in terms of the current wave of buyings. Is this just another wave of bombings before we see another deal done? Are we going to see another ceasefire? I think the Iranians would probably be okay with a ceasefire, although I think as far as I think the level of trust between the Iranians and the US is at a very low ebb. The really last year, in February this year, the US actually attacked them during negotiations, which seemed to be going fairly well. In terms of the memorandum of understanding, I mean, as far as the Iranians are concerned, they're only really interested in three things. One, they wanted Israel out of Lebanon, which they were promised in the memorandum of understanding. Two, the strait would be left under their control with no charges for 6 weeks. That was number 5, I think. And 3, they would be given their seized money back, which is sanctioned money, which has been they've got something like $100 billion. None of those were delivered. And they came into the talk saying, we don't really trust anything you say. And we are where we are. But that's not going to leave them enormously enthusiastic to make a deal. And actually, the thing that the Iranians have been thinking from the beginning was they could really have no better outcome for them than a major economic crisis is caused because of oil in the Western world. It would underline their power and underline why people shouldn't attack them. So actually, from their point of view, it's not a bad outcome. It's just a bad outcome for everyone else. But from their point of view, this is something that would really hurt the US and the rest of the Western world. And certainly it would hurt the US's standing in the rest of the world, as everyone would blame the US for it. So it's not actually a bad outcome. So I'm thinking if the US has actually started attacking Iranian oil fields, I'm thinking the Iranians will probably start attacking the other oil fields in the Gulf. They've already, it appears, that Kuwait and Bahrain have actually been allowing missiles to be launched from their land towards Iran, so all bets are off in terms of attacks on them. Saudi is held back at the moment, but at the moment, I think we're pretty close, probably, to the Iranians starting serious attacks on their neighbours. If they do that, then the whole thing's going to escalate quite badly. So we shall see. Meantime, though, I am thinking we could see an A, a B, a C. Peace breaks out again. We see potentially a retest of the low, set up a nice looking double bottom, and then probably going up for months afterwards, either quickly or slowly. We will see how that develops, but I'm thinking this may well be the C wave, and the key thing I'll be watching tomorrow is these daily middle bands on WTI. So I've got the daily middle band currently at 73.07 on WTI, and on Brent I've got that at 76.52. All right, looking at heating oil. Heating oil is testing this declining resistance, but hasn't broken above it yet. Obviously, this is well above the daily middle band, so that's not really a concern. Gas, again, was much stronger. So this is well over the daily middle band. Well, at least it had been and got down slightly, but it's rising again now. And we will see. Here, I am wondering whether there is a possibility that a head and shoulders may be forming here, but the ideal right shoulder high for that would be in the 3.32232 area. This would be a best case scenario where, because the thing is, this hasn't made it back to any pre-war low areas on gas oil here, and heating oil hasn't made that either, or at least I don't believe it has. No, not even close. So this is because of the crack spread, and this is because the refineries aren't buying that there is no problem. And actually, quite rightly, they're not buying that there is no problem. So this could be head and shoulders suggesting that all will be well. Someone will wave a magic wand. Lots of missing supply will turn up again, and all will be fine in the markets. And therefore, gas oil can go down to where it was before the war started. Personally, I think that's pretty unlikely, but we will see. In terms of natural gas, we had a target at a retest of this May low here, and we haven't made that yet. On the target, on the cash target here, we have made it on the futures chart. We're failing at the moment at the 200 DMA. Really, I'm leaning more towards the downside, and we don't have any more positive, and we don't have any positive divergence at the moment. All right, great. Let's have a look at precious metals. All right, GC. GC still consolidating. None of this war stuff is good for GC. GC was definitely weakening on it last time. There's no sign of that changing at the moment, although any decline on precious metals has been muted so far. This does look like a fair flag, which is breaking down on silver. On palladium, decent looking double bottom, but this kind of looks like a bear flag too. In terms of platinum, this also looks kind of like a bear flag, so I am wondering whether these are all bear flags. In terms of HG, we are still forming what looks an awful lot like a bear flag. So really on the metals, it just looks like bear flags. I think we're pretty close to a low. I'm liking that on the bigger picture, and let's talk about that now. All right, looking at gold. Gold, the RSI 5 buy signal has reached the possible near miss target. We've got a full RSI 14 buy signal fixed. We've got a lovely overall double bottom here. What do we need here? Well, possibly looking at the bear flags, we might need to retest the low first. But after that, we need to break back over the daily middle band. And that can open the way to the upside. In terms of silver, staying below the daily middle band as well. It's not got above it. It hasn't been above it for 4 months. Last time was back in early May. So we are in downtrend and it needs to get back over that. But as it is, if we can get back over this trend line, then daily middle band, that could open the upside. Otherwise, again, I'm wondering about a retest the low. Palladium has broken up slightly from this falling wedge, but I'm wondering about a retest the low. On platinum, I'm wondering about a retest the low too. That could give us a nicer looking smaller double bottom here, but this still very overall looks like bottoming action. In terms of copper, this is a very large nested double nested double top, and this is the first one breaking down. Not made a lot of progress there, but it's holding the 50 DMA currently as resistance. If this holds as resistance, and the daily middle band as well, actually, at the moment, that was a 622, and the close on Friday was at 619. If this is going to proceed down, this would be a pretty good place to do that from. All right, GDX, we've already seen a retest the low, and we've actually got a really nice looking nested double bottom set up here. And in terms of GDXJ, both of these I was thinking we might retest the lows. Both of these we have retested the lows. I can't see, might go down further, but I can't see any particularly obvious reason to think that it will. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. Right, coffee. Coffee, we've had this very strong push up here. Commodities really overall, apart from the precious metals, have been having a pretty good couple of weeks, and oil for separate reasons. But these commodities have been doing pretty well in the main. KC had a very strong move up, very strong rally, and at the moment this looks like a bullish consolidation before at least to retest the high and very possibly going higher. In terms of SB, we had a 6-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target. We've got a possible bottoming action here, possible double top formed here. Hasn't broken down yet. I'm wondering if it might and deliver possibly a retest of this low. In terms of CC, CC has had a very strong move up too. We got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and that hasn't reached the possible near miss target yet. On lumber, we've had a pretty strong time. We've got a 60-minute sell signal fix, hasn't delivered a great deal yet. CT, we got a very nice looking bear flag here, and this could be a bearish overthrow, or it could be breaking up, because actually, this being a bear flag isn't really particularly in sync with anything else. We've been having a pretty strong time on all the grains, so there is an alternative here, and that is that we are forming. Hang on, bear with me a second. If the flag breaks up, this is what I'm thinking is probably happening. Don't get me wrong, the flag's lovely, but we're now overthrowing it, and if that overthrow lasts, then the flag's going to be toast. So, and this is what may be an alternative, so let's have a look at it. It may be that we are forming an inverted head and shoulders here, and that I would be inclined to draw this as slightly downward pointing left to right, and that would be the neckline, and it wouldn't be a bad one. And if that is the case, then it's actually just broken up. So I'm waiting to see whether this is going to pull back and deliver us a possible retest to low, which is what the flag would be saying. But if this is going to be a head and shoulders, then we've got to break up. And we've got to break up. That would be looking basically for a retest of this high here at the beginning of May. We will see how that goes, but I'm rather liking it. And that is a worthy pattern with decent quality, and it's a much better match with what we're seeing on the others. What are we seeing on the others? Well, ZW, we've got a big double bottom which is broken up with the target in the 670.5 to 678.5 range, and that broke up on Friday. We do have a little bit of negative divergence here. This might be overdue a bit of a pullback. On corn, we saw a decent break up here. Do we have an obvious pattern? Well, I have to go with no, really. But nonetheless, we've seen a strong conversion of the monthly pivot, and at the moment, that's just heading higher. On soy, this originally looked like a bear flag, but is broken up hard from it. And I'm thinking that, well, this whole thing here may be a right shoulder, of course. And on the bigger picture, I'm wondering if that inverted head and shoulder is about to break up. ZL, we've got a little double bottom that's broken up. Been a little apathetic from the low, but I'd be looking for seeing a retest this high. Likely continuation higher. Live cattle, possible bottoming action here. A possible 60-minute buy signal is not fixed. Is brewing. All right. And looking at HE, this still looks like a bear flag. All right, great. Let's have a look at these on the bigger picture charts. All right, coffee. Now, coffee, we saw a lot of very serious action earlier on. So basically, from the move up from the 2023 low up into the 2025 high, we saw this vast move to far outside anywhere that coffee's been before. Then basically, we've seen a move back, and I'm wondering whether this might be a bull flag setting up a retest high. We don't have that yet in terms of a pattern taking us there, but nonetheless, this is a strong rally. It's only a 50% retracement. It might just be that this is what we do before the next leg down, but I am watching to see whether this is actually going to make more progress to the upside. In terms of the short term, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed on the daily chart, and we are seeing what looks at the moment like a bullish consolidation, but could be topping action. In terms of sugar, we've got a bullish setup here, but I am wondering if we're going to need to see a retest of the low here at 13.34 here before that plays out properly, because we don't have a decent bottoming pattern here. We will see how that goes, but we have often you would get a wedge like this. You would see it break up, you'd see a retest of the low, and then it would go. I'm wondering whether that might happen here. In terms of the hourly chart, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed there as well. In terms of cocoa, we saw this historic move up and then a strong move down, which got us back into the top of the longer term range, and then we've seen this very strong rally back to broken support, which I've got basically in the 6400 area. Waiting to see what happens here, but I am thinking that we might be seeing both coffee and cocoa, which were both doing really well for a while there, might go back to these wild highs that they had reached. In terms of the cocoa daily chart, we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. And that hasn't delivered anything so far, but I am wondering whether an inverted head and shoulders is forming here. And this would be a great time to pull back a right shoulder, which would have an ideal target in about the 48, 43 area. All right, looking at lumber, we've still got this marvelous bearish setup to take us back to a retest this low here at 350.250, and there's still no sign of that actually happening anytime soon. No current divergence, testing the daily middle band from above to see if it will hold. In terms of cotton, I am wondering, we saw the move double bottom, broke up, made target, saw a sharp move back, finding support at the broken resistance, and I'm wondering whether we're going to go back and retest the high and go higher. We shall see. In terms of the daily chart, no current divergence, but we could get an RSI 5 sell signal without too much trouble. In terms of the weekly chart on wheat, we've got a weak RSI 14 sell signal fixed. We have been seeing some strong action. And we've got a little double bottom here, which is broken up with a target in the 658 to 662 range. We'll see how that goes. In terms of corn, weak RSI 5 buy signal as fixed. Sorry, it's so hot at the moment. It's hard to keep your concentration. Bear with me a second. All right. Okay, so hang on. All right, so we've got a 60-minute weak RSI 5 buy signal is fixed on the daily chart. Actually, that's got too much of the way to the target. We are testing and might manage to get back over resistance at the weekly middle band, which I've got at about 445. In terms of the daily chart, we've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed and the RSI 5 buy signal is made target. Not as clear a bottoming setup here, but this is nonetheless some fairly impressive bullish action. In terms of soy, I've been talking for weeks about the possibility we're forming a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverted head and shoulders here. We haven't broken up from it yet, but if we see a sustained break up, this would have a target in about the 1550 to 1560 area. We shall see. In terms of the short term, we've got now a possible RSI 5 sell signal growing. So we could see a pullback here. We shall see how that goes. All right, great. Let's have a look at the cryptos. All right. Looking at Bitcoin, we have essentially done nothing over the weekend. In terms of the daily chart, we're still holding above the daily middle band, and we're still failing at the 50 DMA above. I was wondering about a retest of this short-term high here, and I was wondering whether that might be a little double top when we reached it. And at the moment, this is still looking a lot like a little double top. This could well head down and retest this low here in the 57.7 area. In terms of Solana, Solana spent another week not getting back over the weekly middle band, so we've got a third close below it after testing. On the daily chart, we're still holding the daily middle band as support just, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a retest the low here. This is still in bear flag territory, or it could, although I am wondering whether we could see this go higher, and this could be a little bull flag forming. We shall see. Point of decision here, one way or the other. However, it looks like a bear flag on Bitcoin, and actually it looks like a bear flag on Ethereum too. We're not close to the weekly middle band on Ethereum. On the daily chart, we are still holding the daily middle band, and we're slightly over the 50 DMA. But here, this looks like a flag. This at the moment would be a flag triangle. If we can get back over 1848, it would be a conventional flag. But we've got some distance to go before this would stop looking like a flag. This looks very like one at the moment, and I think probably because it is. I'm wondering about retest the low on all three of these in the not too distant future. We shall see. All right, just to conclude, obviously we're seeing some pretty interesting tape here because of the Iran war, which has most definitely for the moment back on. I'm thinking that might last much of the rest of next week, and might give us another push up on oil. And I will be watching very, very carefully to see whether a clear bear flag forms on oil. If that's the case, I think we might actually see a retest of the low on another ceasefire, and potentially a double bottom form, which would be a very nice setup to see form here. Alternatively, if everything just goes to hell, we might find that that oil just continues going higher. But I'm looking for a nice looking tradable pattern. We'll see whether we get it. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care. I'll catch you guys again on Wednesday. All right, cheers.